What's up, guys, gals, and non-binary pals? My name is Cody Hansel, also known as your dad's Hawaiian t-shirt collection in human form. The first season of Owl House has finally finished up after what feels like nearly an eternity of waiting for it to come back, and then literally 2 minutes of the show actually being on screen, because boy howdy is this a fantastic show, an absolutely phenomenal show. And there's a lot to talk about in the first season. I mean, like, the growth the characters went through, the arc the story is heading in, as well as maybe some twists and turns that no one really expected. But before we get into all that, real quick, I just want to talk about my live animation talk show that I do every Sunday at 4 p.m. on Twitch. It's a live talk show about animation. We talk about the news, we talk about new episodes that have just come out of different shows. Owl House and Amphibia have been big topics lately. So yeah, feel free to go check out my Twitch channel so you can see all that. So just to get you into the idea of the story, in case you haven't watched any Owl House, which first and foremost, why not? The show is produced by Disney Television and created by Dana Terrace, and takes place in this magical demon world, and follows the adventures of this girl, Luz Nocita, who's from the human world, but ends up walking through a magical portal that brings her to a town called Bonesboro, where she meets the owl lady, Ida, and her little demon guy, King, the king of demons. While in Bonesboro, she learns that witches and other magical creatures exist and are real, and she wants to pursue the idea of witchery because she loves all that stuff. To quote her from the very first episode,
I like editing anime clips to music and reading fantasy books with convoluted backstories.
Again, she's a human, which have no natural magic abilities. She's quirky and weird and kind of an outcast, but once she makes it to Bonesboro, she starts to feel like, you know, maybe there's a place for her here among this place that seems to be made up exclusively of weirdos and monstrosities. Luz herself is an excellent character. Being the lead, she has to be able to carry the show basically all on her own, and she does a very good job of that. Her mission to go and learn how to perform magic as this non-magical being shows that she's willing to try despite everything being against her. And it's hard to not want to see her succeed whenever she's just so enthusiastically about everything that's happening all around her at all times. Along with that, she has this good-spirited kind of I need to help everybody around me vibe about her that gets her in trouble a lot. Hot-headedness, her jumping to conclusions. In general, that's what leads to the problem of a lot of earlier episodes. That being said, throughout the first season, she grows out of that as she learns lessons from Ida, as she learns lessons from Willow and Gus and Amity, the other characters in the show, as well as learning from her own mistakes. She very quickly becomes this character where the things that happen to her aren't so much the fault of her causing trouble as it is her trying to prevent trouble falling on somebody else and kind of dragging them into it as well as herself. But she also is very good about realizing the problem and taking that responsibility onto herself. Not always understanding the consequences of that action, but always holding true to them regardless. It's also extremely important to note that Luz is the first bisexual lead on a Disney TV animated series, which is phenomenal. It's so great. Just adds more representation to the show, and what we need right now is more representation. Also, quick sidebar here, I noticed that they call everyone witches, a male or female or somebody who might be non-binary. I don't know, it's impossible to tell with some of these creatures. If you're a magical creature, you're basically a witch, and the only people that they ever call not a witch is a wizard in the show, who they say are weirdos in it's like, what does King say? Weirdos in pajamas that keep glitter in their pockets. They've turned witches into a non-gendered term in this world, and that's very fun to see. No, my light's in... Uh-oh, I didn't notice my light was in frame. Just hold on. There we go. Lights... Where was I? Oh yeah, Ida. Yeah, we find out that Ida, she is the self-proclaimed most powerful witch on the Boiling Isles, which makes her, you know, obviously very humble, as well as a criminal who's wanted for like 100 million snails being the currency in this world. It goes from everything from petty theft to outrunning the government force of the Boiling Isles. So you know right out the gate she's going to be a good character. And throughout the series, we get to see her go from the character who I just explained to you to surrogate mother figure. The big theme of this show is adoptive family, and Ida very much embodies like an adoptive mother role for Luz, whose own mother doesn't really understand her. Her mother cares about her, we see that in the first episode, but she doesn't understand Luz like Ida understands Luz. Ida understands that Luz wants something more, something to identify herself that lets her express who she is, and Ida helps promote that and nurture that. Maybe not in the best way all the times, but it's important to her and becomes more important later on in the series, especially as she starts to kind of owe more and more of her happiness and her life to Luz. It's a very good dynamic and a very good feel. And by the end of the season, we see that Ida has developed a true motherly feeling for Luz, and it's wonderful to see. And for the third of our main three, we meet King, who very much has a Napoleon complex, where he is this cute little plushy looking fellow who wears a skull, but apparently that's not terrifying enough because everybody treats him like a puppy. He is the, I have to assume, self-proclaimed king of demons, since we have not seen any evidence to the contrary that he's actually a king of demons. He learns a lot in this series as well. It seems that, of course, the main character brings in a lot of change in the cast of characters in this. Oh my god, it's an isekai. Oh my god, this show's an isekai. Oh my god, Amphibious an isekai. Oh no, I'm just now realizing my two favorite shows on Disney are both isekai. King's big role in this series is primarily comedic relief. That being said, the episodes where he's part of the main plot, the A plot, it's usually the episodes where he learns a legitimately good lesson. One of my favorites being the episode where him and Luz write a book together. He takes all the credit, then has to learn a lesson about sharing the credit and not vying for everybody's eyes, not trying to vie for attention constantly. And in a world of social media, I think it's really important that that lesson get told. And King was a surprisingly good character to embody that lesson. With that, I want to talk about some of our side characters real quick. We have Willow and Gus, who are two young witches that Luz befriends early in the series. Willow initially coming out as a character who's kind of in the wrong spot as far as her magical abilities go. They put her in the abomination course, which is where you just make walking abominations, but she's actually very, very good at plant magic. Gus, who is kind of a savant in illusion magic, has skipped a couple of grades, and this boy is a showman through and through. It becomes more obvious whenever you find out later on that his father is a reporter. These two play really well into Luz as a character and kind of create their own little trio dynamic. Let's move on to Amity, who I hate putting into this almost like side character role. Supporting cast, that's probably the better word for it. Supporting cast. Amity starts off the series as this kind of snotty, nose up, silver spoon character. She's the better witch than everybody else. She's a blight, and blights only associate with the best of witches, the most powerful witches. And that kind of goes against the grain of Luz, who kind of hangs out with just whoever she likes. She's friends with everybody, and Amity's ability to be abrasive to everyone who isn't of the highest class kind of rubs the wrong way in the beginning. As Amity finds herself stuck in more situations with Luz, she starts learning more and more about Luz. She first learns about Luz's determination to become a witch. Then eventually they develop a friendship, a very light friendship, which turns into maybe a romance. It already is from one side of it, anyway. This is one of my favorite topics, but the Lumity ship. That's right, Luz and Amity is a ship, and Amity definitely wants it to happen. Luz seemingly has no idea. I need to find that tweet about how Amity is a disaster gay. Oh no, it was a YouTube video. Amity Blight being a gay disaster for nearly 2 minutes. Oh, poor thing. Oh, it's so true, but it's so funny. Go watch the video of Amity Blight being a gay disaster for nearly 2 minutes. I'll put a link down in the description. It's really good. That being said, Luz has definitely had a positive effect on Amity, helping her rebuild her old relationship with Willow, while helping her ditch this like snot-nosed, bratty, rich girl persona that she puts on to actually hang out with people that she might like for their personalities and not because her rich parents are making them hang out with her. We've only seen like 1 or 2 bits of her parents, but they already give me Northwest vibes. And by Northwest, I mean the Northwest from Gravity Falls. If you haven't seen the episode Northwest Mansion Mystery, I get the vibe that Amity's parents are going to be very similar to Pacifica's parents, but oh dude, nothing makes my blood curdle as much as that little bell from that episode. Ooh, I can relate to what it's like to have a parental figure be that strict on you and that controlling of you. It's not great. So these episodes and those dynamics in particular they irk me. Not because they don't need to be represented. They definitely do, and they're being represented well so far. It's one of those things that get to me though, you know? That's probably a fine place to stop the character stuff, huh? Yeah, probably. Now let's get on to the story. And this is probably caused by the hiatus the show took, but I had forgotten a lot of littler details, and for some reason I felt like there was more episodes of just kind of dead air as far as the story goes, but that's not the case at all. Almost every episode, save for like maybe 2, kind of play into something that gets called back to later on in the season. My favorite example of this is probably the episode where Luz goes to the library and has an adventure with Amity. That's the A-plot. The A-blight? A+ blight. That's the A-plot. And the B-plot is Ida and King taking care of this new character, the Bat Queen's babies. And we see the Bat Queen only for a minute or so, maybe not even that, at the end of the episode whenever she meets Luz and delivers the reward for babysitting the kids. And then we see her later in an episode as the main antagonist whenever Luz loses Albert, which is the head of Ida's staff that comes alive and flies around like a cute little owl. We find out that the Bat Queen is a palisman like Albert is. And I thought, well, she has the interlock on her foot, the thing that puts you on top of a staff. So I wonder, do we see that in the episode? And yeah, if you go back to that episode where she just has that minor appearance, whenever she's leaving the door of the outhouse, you can see the interlock on her foot. They were hinting at that already being a thing, but if you're not keeping your eyes out for it, if you're not looking for it, you're gonna miss it. And there's stuff like that all throughout these episodes. I'm gonna let you find the rest, because there's a lot of them, and I think you just kind of feel better when you notice them yourself. We also get to see the growth of all of our characters. I already alluded to a lot of those growths in the beginning. We have some really, really big payoffs for that character growth. Enchanting Gromfright is the big growth for Luz and Amity's relationship. It's kind of the beginning of a bigger relationship for the two of them, even if only one of them really notices it at this point. Then you have episodes like Agony of a Witch, where we get kind of the low point of Ida and Lilith's relationship. Big secrets get revealed, a fight ensues, and it's amazing. Spencer Wan is a god. This finale does one of my favorite things that a show can do to set up for another season, right? We get to see how Luz has truly earned a mastery over her specific form of magic. Ida also gets knocked down a peg, where she's no longer the most powerful witch in the Bowling Isles. We get a shift in the power dynamic, and that's the interesting thing, right? Now, Luz, who we get to see be powerful, embody her change and her growth as a character, we get to see that. We get to experience that, and in a way that we hadn't experienced earlier in the season. She'd always shown herself to be capable at times. In the finale, she is consistently capable and is always pulling off some new trick or some new way of one-upping her opponent. And even if it's a small victory, it's a victory nonetheless. But it's great to see that right before we see fall of another lead. There's a secret message hidden in the first letter of every episode, very Gravity Falls-esque. This show shares a lot of DNA with Gravity Falls. And the message is, a witch loses a true way. And there's kind of layers to that, you know? In the sense that 2 characters lose a certain way of being a witch, and then another character who has recently become a witch loses another way. And I'm literally like replacing one word in each of those examples, but that's what it is. And it's interesting to see that this wasn't just like a hint or a clue as to what was going to happen, but it just has a bigger meaning the more you look at it. It's additive and not just straight up, you know, oh, this is what happens in the episode. Also, I'm just now realizing they call this show a horror comedy, and there are some horror-esque elements in it. There are some scary moments in it, but even better is the comedy. And the comedy in this show, chef's kiss, is amazing. My favorite example of a joke in the show is from the episode of Chanting Grom Fright. Luz walks into Ida getting all dressed up for Grom. She's going to be a chaperone. And Luz tells her, I wish I could take Amity's place as Grom Queen. And she goes, there's a giant spider in your hair. And she goes, I'm not falling for that. And when she turns and walks at the door, you see a giant spider on her head. And the typical execution of that joke is she walks out the door, and as soon as she's off camera, you hear a scream, right? Like, oh, okay, that's the joke. And this time there's no scream. We just cut to another scene. In this scene, she's comforting Amity and telling Amity, no, I'll take your place. She goes on this big, I can be your champion. I'm a bad boy. I'll be the best. And as she makes this big final pose, the spider crawls on her face, and she screams and slams her face into the mud pit and rolls off screen. I'm not even watching it. I'm just talking about it, and I love it so much. It's the perfect joke in this series. Oh my god. In my opinion, it's the best joke, but there are a lot of laugh out loud jokes in this show. God, the comedy is so perfect. It's a lot of dark humor, but the dark humor is really playful, so it's okay. It's a fantastic show. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many places the show can go next season, and I'm so excited for it. If you haven't seen The Owl House, go watch it. Please. It's just phenomenal. It's just so good. And there's so much good content out there about it as well. So go check out everybody else who might be making content on it. I try and talk about kind of the general show itself, but there's people who do deep dives on like every single episode. The Overly Animated podcast is one of them that I've been listening to lately while I was going back and kind of checking out all of the episodes again. And they have some deep dives on the episodes that opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And it was super, super interesting to see. So go check out people who make more content on the show. Go follow the people who make the show. I honestly can't give you better advice than that, because you can see behind the scenes and all this cool fun stuff that they do, as well as a bunch of free art. And finally, look down in the description and check out my merch, because it would support me and help me out a lot. Or not, like, follow, comment, tell me who your favorite Owl House character is, and why it's Amity, because she's perfect. Also, fun fact, the word Amity means friend. If that's gonna have any play on her future character, she might get put in the Amity zone. Oh, people aren't gonna like that. Also, last thing, don't forget to check out the Animation Talk Show. I do it every 4 p.m. on Sunday at my stream, twitch.tv/Cody_Hansel. You get to talk to me live in person and suggest things to talk about cartoons, which is literally all I want to do all day, is talk about cartoons. Anyways, that's it. That's all I got for you. My name has been Cody Hansel. Thanks for coming to check out the video. Go watch the Owl House. All right, peace.